Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. Well, there hasn't been a lot of imaging going on here in Auckland, I'm afraid, due to the... And unfortunately, even when it's been sunny during the day, there's been basically cloud swarms in the evening. So the observatory's been sitting idle for quite some time. Having said that though, I did go recently on holiday with the family to Australia. We went to the Gold Coast and we met some of the locals and some more of the locals and quite a few of the locals. And we even had some of the locals laugh at us. Very rude. Anyway, I've been on holiday with the family over in Australia on the Gold Coast, enjoying some of the warmer weather. And not long before we went over there, my brother actually bought a Seestar S50. And I was really keen to have a look at it, see how it performed, and see if we could sort of image a few targets. And I also wanted to know how good the data was that it was collecting and producing, and see whether or not I could process that data in Pixinsight and see how much better I could get it than the processing that the Seestar does by itself. Now, when you're looking at it on your phone, as far as I can tell, or your iPad, etc., you tend to be looking at the JPEGs, but you do have the option to save FITS files on the Seestar and then hook them up to the computer and download them later. So that's what I did. I took my laptop over there and I downloaded the files and did a bit of processing. So we'll get on with the video, show you us doing the targets with the Seestar. We're also quite keen to capture the most recent Comet, which we did manage to. Then later on, after I've shown you the video of us in Australia, I'll go through some of the images that I have processed in Pixinsight and just give you my final thoughts on what I thought about the Seestar S50 from my limited time with it. So we had a bit of a technical difficulty and it's restarted, and reminds you to make sure you've got the solar filter on, and we're heading to the sun. Yeah. What you can hear in the background is a lot of boats going up and down the canal, so a bit noisy. Okay, so we had a bit of a technical hitch when we went to 4 times and it seemed to get a bit jammed, so at the moment we're going to try that again. We had 1 times and 2 times I think, and then we couldn't get to 4 times, so it's just finding the sun. So there we go, here it is, coming back in again. And we seem to be back in the centre, so it's in the centre, yes. So now it's going to do an autofocus again, and hopefully this time we can go to 4 times. It was a bit of cloud going past, always the way. As soon as it set up the telescope, it spots some, the clouds spot us. So now it's usually dark when you zoom in, so you do have to increase the sort of exposure there. Do you tap on the spot? Oh, it goes to there. Oh, nice, sunspots. A bit more cloud coming through. And do another autofocus, I think. Do you do another autofocus? Yep. That's a nice line of sunspots. Take another shot. So have you tried doing video? We might try and do a bit of video on it as well. So just adjusting the exposure depending on the zoom factor. It's auto-focusing. There we go. And now I'm going to do a video and record a bit of that, and then we can probably stack all the best frames and see how that compares to a single shot. So you're just dragging it to where you want it by just dragging it with your finger on the screen, which is quite convenient. More boats going past. Yeah, very good. So that's a bit of a quick imaging of the sun with the Seestar. Now tonight we're going to try, if it stays clear, there's a bit of cloud coming in now, but we're going to try and capture the Comet, and then we might slew to another target, maybe have a quick look at the Lagoon Nebula or something, yeah, fingers crossed it stays clear tonight. Okay, so we are out, it's nice and clear, and we're going to try and look for this Comet. So we've got the Seestar all set up, ready, it is going to go and hopefully find it. We'll see. Got a nice boat going past with blue lights on. Alright, let's see where we can get to with this thing. So it's now going to try and find it. It's rotating around and almost at the right place to point to it. It says it's 17 degrees out, 4 degrees, 0.1 degrees.
Usually takes a few minutes.
And there it is.
Yes.
So I think it's just making sure it's got itself. Yep, it's found it, so it's going to initiate calibration, okay. Yeah, you can see the tail there and you can see the head. Yeah. And then start to take some shots there and I'll try and stack them. Yeah. Oh, okay, so it's moving backwards and forwards while it horizontal and checks with its level.
Yeah.
That'll be for it so it can track accurately. Some nice quiet people out on the canal. How's the serenity? 90%, 99%. That last 1% is obviously crucial. We've just moved the Seestar over a little bit to see if we can clear the roof of the unit next door. So we're on the Sculptor Galaxy. I'm just going to hit on it and I'm going to go gazing. Now we may end up hitting the wall of the unit next door, but we'll see. Otherwise we'll leave it for about another hour and come back. I'm not sure how big it'll be in this field of view. It might be tiny. Oh no, there it is. Oh, it's actually not too bad. It's not a bad size.
It'll look much better once it's done its first.
Yeah. Okay, so we're just going to let it keep shooting away there for probably an hour if we can. It depends when the moon comes up. But you can see the Sculptor Galaxy with every shot is getting more and more visible. So let's see how we go after about an hour. Okay, we've got the Seestar set up. There's a little bit of high cloud, but we're going to have a go at the Helix Nebula, and I'm going to go on guest mode. So, okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my camera into photo mode, and my brother on the Seestar is going to, if I come down here and show you, it's there, he's going to go to the advanced features down here, and then there's guest mode. and then he's going to click on the option for me, and you can see I've got that code comes up. I touch on that and I want to join, and I go yes, and then I'm just going to come back out, and I am going to open up the Seestar app, and there it is. It's showed a bit of connection, and now we've connected, and you can see the Helix Nebula just in the middle there faintly. We are imaging right over azimuth, so it's actually going to have trouble stacking. It'll probably fail all the stacks, but let me just sit back to this, and you can see here there are the two connected. You can have up to eight connected. So the one in red is the controller, and then I'm a guest, and you can have up to 8 of those. So that's where this is really good for things like outreach, etc. We can have a little mini star party and have 4 people sitting around watching the image come to life. But at the moment, because these things, the Seestar is not recommended to be imaging sort of kind of higher than 80 degrees, so around the azimuth it just has trouble stacking, and it sees star trails, so we'll probably have to just leave it going until it gets past the point where it can start stacking again. You can see stack failed, you see, came up on the screen then. Okay, so let's have a look and see what the Seestar can produce if you sort of spend a bit more time processing the FITS files rather than just letting the Seestar produce the images for you with the JPEGs. So this was what we did of the sun. Did lucky imaging, so it was about a minute long video, and I processed it in the usual fashion that we do using AutoStackit, etc. For doing solar system objects like the sun, the moon, and the planets. And some really nice sunspot detail here, and a little bit of surface detail, I think, too, with these lighter areas. It's a little bit exposed and washed out here, unfortunately, but some fun stuff to be able to pick up, particularly during this time when the sun is in its active phase. And this particular day we had lots of sunspots to image. Now, we had a go at the comet. Now, this was very low in the sky, and there was a lot of light pollution in the direction that we were shooting, and in fact I couldn't even pick it up with my DSLR, so that's what it was like. This was a 1 minute stack, so you can see the comet here. See, it's a 1 minute, and there's obvious gradient through here with the light pollution. This was the 15-minute stack that I ended up doing the processing. The background is a lot cleaner, obviously, but now we've got this issue where we have a very elongated looking comet because the Seestar obviously can't do sort of proper comet stacking. So that's where I took the individual FITS files and put them into Pixinsight. And look, it's not going to win any prizes, but I thought it wasn't too bad when you can process it, and I think we were pleased to be able to capture the comet in some sort of form. Particularly in such light polluted skies. So that's what we were able to achieve on the most recent visitor to our solar system. Now for the Helix, we want to collect a lot more on this, and my brother is going to collect more data if he can get some clear skies. They're getting some bad weather over there as well, but this is what you could get after 3 minutes, and you can see the Helix here. I mean, you can see it on the screen after 10 seconds. But this is 3 minutes, but you can't really see what we call the eyebrow showing up over here. After 55 minutes, I'm not sure if it's going to project on YouTube particularly well, but the eyebrow is starting to show up here. Again, it's still very grainy, but there's more detail showing up in the Helix itself. You can see a lot of rotation artifact here because this is an alt-az mount, not an equatorial mount, and we were shooting pretty close to zenith. And so as a result, there was a lot of shooting before and after zenith, which therefore had a lot of rotation going on. It's actually not recommended to shoot near zenith for the Seestar because it does struggle, and I think the recommendation is not to go any higher than 80 or 85%. to zenith. Just, wait till it gets to that point, stop, then wait till it passes over the other way at about 80 or 85% heading down, and then continue on to image. So that's probably why there was so much of this artifact in here. But anyway, this is what it's produced with a JPEG and its own native stacking after 55 minutes. And then this is what I did in Pixinsight. Now, it's quite blotchy in the background, and I should have spent more time on this than I did, but I wanted to get something to show for the video. You can start to see the eyebrow showing up over here, and you can certainly see more detail going on here. And I'm hoping that if we can collect, a couple of hours, maybe even 3 hours, that this will come a lot cleaner and a lot more detail shown. But, not bad for 10-second exposures in heavily light polluted skies. The Lagoon Nebula was actually the first one that my brother imaged. I'll show you this one, which is basically the same. It's got the details that the Seestar produced. So it was 146 minutes. And this is obviously with, like the Helix, this is with its sort of filter turned on, the sort of HAO3 filter turned on. It did a pretty good job. You can see the dark nebula. You can see detail in, the rest of the nebula itself. And you can see sort of a bit going on in the core here. I think people will be pretty excited to get this, people who have never actually seen or captured a nebula before. And, it'll have all that excitement that I think we all remember when we first pointed our telescopes right at the very beginning with cameras on the back, whether they be DSLRs or perhaps we were struggling with a quad camera, and that first bit of nebula popped up or a galaxy appeared, and this is going to produce that same sort of excitement. I processed it in Pixinsight, and this is what I was able to produce. And it does show up a lot more of the detail in the dark nebula. I probably could show a bit more detail down here in the core, but you can see some nice nebula structure here, and you can produce a very reasonable image if you spend a bit more time processing. Sure, you may not be using Pixinsight to do it if you've got a Seestar, but you could have a go in Cyril, which is free. You don't have to fork out for Pixinsight. So I thought that was pretty good, and my brother was pretty pleased to see that it can get this amount of detail in heavily light polluted skies with just 10-second exposures. And the last one I think really shows a big difference, and that is when we pointed the telescope at the Sculptor galaxy. Now, as you probably heard on the video, we weren't really sure how big this was going to appear in the field of view, but actually it wasn't too bad. And this is what we got after 148 minutes, and this is what the Seestar produced. It's sort of a bit dark, and it's a little bit blurry, but you can see some detail, and you can still clearly recognize this as a sort of more on-edge galaxy. But I think this is where the biggest difference occurred when I processed this in Pixinsight and got this. And that's pretty good. You've got some nice dark dust detail in here. You can clearly see the disk and the core there, and I was actually quite surprised that it came out as well as it did. So he's kind of keen to capture M83, our nice big face-on galaxy, and see what kind of image we can get with the Seestar on that galaxy. This is obviously in broadband settings, so it doesn't have the HAO3 filter on, the dual band filter. Again, I think a very good result considering the light pollution that we were dealing with. Okay, so what are my thoughts on my brief use of the Seestar 50? Well, I was actually quite impressed with it, actually. I mean, it's a relatively small, portable and very automated design. But you can actually image some galaxies, nebulae, the moon, the sun, probably not the planets, they're too small. For a lot of people, the images that it produces, straight out of the Seestar are enough to get them excited about the night sky, and they don't necessarily want to spend all the time in front of a computer hours processing images like a lot of us do. I also think it has great use in things like outreach, where you want to get some people, whether it be your local community or in a school or whatever, and get people excited about the night sky and show them the potential of what they can actually image, even with a small and relatively cheap device. So I think it has great use there, and particularly the fact that you can actually connect multiple devices, multiple iPhones or iPads to the device while it is actually imaging, so people can see, the image appearing and getting better over time. Now, I know probably some of you are thinking, well, hang on a minute, who's going to buy a Seestar but then spend all the money on Pixinsight and all the hours learning Pixinsight? You're going to use that with a more fancy astrophotography setup, and I get that. But I don't know much about Cyril, but I know that's a free program, and you can do a heck of a lot of processing through that. And for those who do want to sort of have a go and learn a bit more about the processing of images and see if they can get something better from their images than what the Seestar just produces natively, I think that's perfectly fine, and I don't see why people necessarily wouldn't want to do that. And obviously there is the potential to get good images because the data is actually pretty good when you consider it's 10-second exposures. That's all we were using. I know it can do 10, 20 and 30 second exposures, but for that brief period of time that we were exposing, and in the sort of portal sky that we're in, because it sort of was classified as 5, but here at home it's sort of 5, 6, and I can see a heck of a lot more stars in the sky than I could over where my brother is. So I think he's more in the 6 to 7 portal area actually where he's situated. So, given those conditions, it did a pretty good job. So, will I be buying a Seestar 50? Not at this stage. I don't sort of see an immediate need to, but I have thought about whether or not it might be something to consider if, for example, up at Langs Beach, I want to get the local community more to think about dark skies and maybe, turning off a few lights and spend more time looking up than lighting up. I'll never say never. It could be something that I could potentially grab and invite people to come around and have a look and make them think about, enjoying our beautiful night sky and preserving it. So look, until next time, I hope everybody's getting a lot more clear skies than I'm getting here, and see you in the next video.